that, we're going to show you, discover the possibilities of the 21st century classroom. So at PRCCS, our goal is to
meet or exceed the state standards, to teach the core subjects, so language arts, math, social studies, and science, along with the arts and technology, to provide a small school setting, and Kyle already talked about the ratio of students to teachers. So in K through 5, it would be 20 students to every one teacher, and 6 through 8, it will be 25 for every one teacher. And by doing this, it will help us to create an intimate school culture. I firmly believe that by creating an intimate school culture, students are going to be far more successful. And we want a place where all of the adults at that school know all of the children. So the director needs to know all of the children by name. The teachers need to know all of the children by name. And then not only by name, they need to know what those students' interests are, what their strengths are, what's going to motivate them to learn. We want to focus on the whole child. So we want them to be able to develop both academically and socially in order to become well-rounded individuals and successful in society. And then we also want to provide differentiation in the classroom. So the students will receive the same curriculum, but the way that it's delivered can be modified based on each student's need. And one way we're going to do that is by creating PLPs for every student. And what a PLP is, it's a personalized learning plan. It will be unique to each child. It will be a document that has input from the student, parent, and teacher. And on there will include the student's strengths, interests, and learning styles. And this is a key piece for me because I feel like you really need to know what the student's strengths are to begin with, so you can then build on those to help them be more successful. It's also important for you to know their interests. So even if it's that they're interested in football, well then you're going to somehow integrate that into the classroom to help them learn. So when you are teaching about teaching math and you're talking about statistics, you bring that newspaper and let those kids look at that. Look at those statistics about football. And then their learning styles. So whether they are an auditory learner, a visual learner, a kinesthetic learner, so they need movement, a tactile learner, they need to touch, and oftentimes students will be will have more than one style that fits them. So the student, parent, and teacher will create goals together. They will create both academic and social goals at the beginning of the year. And then those goals will be revisited mid-year, and they will see, have those goals been accomplished? If not, then maybe we'll continue on with that goal. If they have been accomplished, then they'll create new goals for the last half of the year. And then at the end of the year, that child's teacher will write a narrative stating a focus for that child for the upcoming year. The PLP, a new one will be created every school year, but the PLP will follow the students throughout their academic careers. So you can look back on how that child has progressed throughout their school career. So at PRCCS, we want to have a literature-rich and technology-filled classroom. And so that means that when you walk in, of course there will be a classroom library that's filled with picture books and chapter books. But not only that, you'll see books that pertain to the concepts that are being studied. So, for instance, if I'm teaching a unit about animals, then I'm going to have tons of animal books that the students can then refer to. So we will have some basic books about animals. We'll have books about animal groups. So you might have the invertebrates and the birds and the reptiles. Then you'll have some books about specific animals. So the students will be able to really further their knowledge based on what they're interested in.
And on the technology side, based on the same example of studying animals in the classroom, you actually can bring in, via the internet, it's basically a whole library of information for kids to do research on their own. And you can use Google Earth. Say they want to see the gazelles. They can actually use Google Earth and fly over the habitat that the gazelles exist in. Everybody's seen the webcams with the California condor. They can actually go on the internet and take a look at the California condors feeding their babies. And so technology really brings a lot of validity and real-world presence to what the children are learning in the classroom. Okay, so with technology, teachers and students have the ability to receive live or immediate feedback, which allows them to monitor their progress during a lesson. So if you've ever worked in your child's classroom, this is kind of one of my favorite stories to tell. So I'm working in my child's 4th grade classroom, and the teacher is up at the front of the class, and she's doing a math lesson. She's teaching the kids long division, which if you remember learning long division, it's painful, absolutely painful. So these kids are in there, and they're listening to the lesson, and they seem to be following along, and the teacher's writing on the whiteboard and everything. And then they do a few problems together, and then the teacher gives them a problem to do on their own. So after a couple of minutes, she says, okay, who got this answer? And all the kids raise their hand. Every single one of them raised their hand. So as the parent walking around in the class, I can see half these kids didn't get the right answer. But they don't want to be singled out as not knowing the correct answer. They don't want to be labeled as the dumb kid in class. They just don't. So through technology, the teacher actually has the ability to have a device that will sync with all of the kids' devices, and it's going to give them immediate feedback on who actually understands the lesson, who gets it, who do I need to sing, who do I need to pull for extra attention. And then the kids in turn don't actually have to be singled out in front of all of their peers as not knowing what they don't understand.
So this is going to create a safe environment for all students. Like Julie said, students don't want other students to know when they don't understand. And so this way, the teacher and the student are the only ones that know which student understands and which student isn't quite getting it. So having said that, students are going to be more likely to take risks because they aren't going to be embarrassed if they aren't getting it. And then, just as important, the teacher is able to adjust his or her lesson, day, or week based on that immediate feedback. So I don't know if there are any other educators in the room, but I know as a former teacher, you teach a lesson, you give the guided practice, the students do independent practice, they then turn that piece of paper into your inbox, and you don't always get to it that day, or the next day, or the following day, unfortunately. And so by the time you actually get to grade that paper, you've already moved on to the next concept. So this allows the teacher to have immediate feedback and understand, or to find out if the whole class isn't getting what you just taught, then obviously you need to deliver that information in a different way. If most of the students are getting it, then they can continue on with their independent practice, and you can pull those few that aren't to reteach that lesson. And I think a big part of teaching is refining what you're doing based on your students' needs. And technology, I mean, when I heard about this, I just thought it was amazing that you would be able to see on your computer monitor exactly which student got the problem right. So that kind of opens up a whole new world to us teachers.
yes, we want to use technology to enhance standard teaching methodologies. Okay? So when technology is used as a method of delivering and accessing curriculum, teacher-guided lessons, teachers have the ability to use technology as a way to deliver the information, as opposed to just the traditional way of standing up in front of the room and lecturing to the class. You can actually use technology to deliver the information in a different way. Interactive learning. So now the kids actually have a device in their hand, and they're interacting with different applications to reinforce the concepts that are being taught in that lesson plan. They're actually taking an active part in their learning. It's also multisensory. So it's tactile because they're touching the device. It's visual. It's that whole touch it, see it, feel it concept. You don't really think of technology as being the touch, see, feel concept, but it really is. And kids can actually take a look at videos on, say, like an iPod to reinforce what they're learning. And they can actually listen to a book and be able to gather information that they may be researching. So